Okay, Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. So this is the last video of the 6-part series. So in this video, we will discuss the key issues, objectives and steps in the system analysis, which is the learning outcome number 5. So we already discussed in the earlier part of the chapter, when a new or improved system is needed, the written request for the system development is prepared. So in this system request, they will describe the current problems, the reasons for the change, the proposed system objective, and also the anticipated benefit and cost. So in this system analysis, there will involve 5 major steps. So, okay, initial investigation, system survey, feasibility study, information needs and system requirement, and then the last part or the last step is the system analysis report. So you can refer to figure 22.4 in page 731. Okay, so we go one by one for each of the steps. So the first step is the initial investigation. So under initial investigation, we conduct the screen project. They will conducted to initial investigation to screen the project. Okay, so earlier part we have discussed we have a proposal or request from the users, multiple users in the company to the IT team. So we do investigate for each of the project, each of the proposal, and then we do screen the project. And then during this initial investigation also, we determine the exact nature of the problem under review. Okay, and then they also determine the project scope, what it should and should not seek to accomplish, and then also we determine the project viability and preliminary costs and benefits. Okay, and then we should recommend whether to initiate the project as proposed, or maybe modify it or abandon it. Okay, so the proposal to conduct this system analysis is prepared for approved project. So you can refer table 22.3. Okay, 22.3. They refer to the reports, table of contents for reports on the proposal to conduct the system analysis for at the shopper's marks. Okay, so you can refer to the table 22.3. Under this table of contents, the proposal to conduct system analysis should include the system problems and opportunities, goals and objective of the proposed system, the project scope, okay, anticipated cost and benefit, who are the participants in the development project, okay, and also they will propose the system development task and the work plan. Okay, and then the second steps, okay, in the system analysis is the system survey. So the system survey is the extensive study of the current system, of the current AIS undertaken. So they have the following objective. Okay, they have 4 objectives, okay, to match in the system survey. So the first one, they need to gain the thorough understanding of the company's operations. Okay, understand the policies and procedure, what are the data information flow, okay, the strength of the AIS, the weaknesses of the AIS, okay, and then what are the available hardware and software, and also who are the personnel involved in the AIS. Okay, and then the second objective, they will make preliminary assessment of the current and future processing needs. Okay, they will determine the extent and nature of the changes needed. Okay, and then the third objective for the system survey is they're going to develop the working relationship with the users and build support for the AIS. So they will get the information from the users, and then also they will build up the rapport with the users. Okay, and then the last one objective for the system survey is they're going to collect data that identify users' needs, conduct the feasibility analysis, and make the recommendation to the management. Okay, so this is the example of the methods used. Okay, so you can refer table 22.4 in the details. So they have 4 common methods used to gather the data. So earlier part just now, you can see in the system survey, they will do thorough study, okay, thorough understanding about the current system. So they need to do the gathering of data of the current system. So this is 4 methods commonly used, okay, interviews, questionnaires, observations and system documentation. So you can go through table 22.4 So under this table 22.4, they list down all the advantages and disadvantages for each of the methods. Okay, it normally they will do the whether interview or questionnaire, observation or system documentation depends on the company situation. Okay, maybe they need the interview if they want to have a large number of the users they want to get the information. So the interview is the best methods. Okay. The interview, the questionnaire is the best method. Interview, okay, interview is more on when they want to answer why questions, for example. Okay, so you can see the advantages and disadvantages for each. So I want you to go through that one under table 22.4. It's very important, this one, because this is where we want to know how the IT teams conduct the survey, okay, to gather the data, and then they want to know the users requirements. Okay, then under system survey also they will after they conduct the survey, okay, they will document the findings, okay, documents the findings of the survey and model the existing system. So the information gathered during the analysis phase must be documented, and then also it can be used to throughout the system development project. So it's very important the input from the survey. That's why they need to document it, and then they model that existing system. So this is where normally they use the documentation techniques that you learn in AIS 615. Normally they use the data flow diagram. Okay, so data flow diagram is one of the methods used to model the existing system, the documentation of the findings. Okay, so they will flow the information, the data flow, okay, in the data flow diagram on the current system. And then from the survey also they will conduct the physical model. So the physical model is to illustrate how the system functions by describe the flow of the documents, the computer process performed, and the people performing them. Okay, the equipment used and any other physical elements of the system. So they will also model the physical of the system. Okay, how the system function. And then they also prepare the logical model. So this is to illustrate what is being done regardless of how the flow is actually accomplished, and then analyze the existing system. So once data is complete, the survey team evaluate the AIS strengths and weaknesses to develop ideas for designing and structuring the new AIS. So from the input that they get from the system survey, okay, so those are the information related to the current system. So from there they know whether the AIS, that the current AIS that they have now, what are their strengths and weaknesses, okay, and then they will see the proposed, okay, that been the proposed report atau request from the users. Okay, so they will decide whether they want to how they want to design, okay, or structuring the new system, new AIS. Okay, and then they also will prepare the system survey report. Okay, so the system survey culminates with the system survey report. So you can refer table 22.3 also. Okay, shows the table of contents of the Shopper's Mart. So this is the content for the system survey report. The system goals and objective, the problems, opportunity. Okay, and then basically the main part of the system survey report is the current system operation. What are the policy and procedure, the system design operation, system users and their responsibility, outputs, inputs, data storage, control, strength, weaknesses, and so on. Okay, so those are the information related to the current system. So they will put in the system survey report. Okay, and then the third step actually is the feasibility study, but we already discussed the feasibility study in the previous part, so I will not discuss it anymore in this system analysis. The same concept apply. And then the step number 4 is the information needs and system requirement. So the once project is deemed feasible, the company identify the information needs of the AIS users and document the system requirements. Okay, you can refer table 22.6, okay, to see more detail about the possible contents of the system requirements. So for example, the requirements for the process, okay, what are the business process description, including what is to be done and by whom, the data elements, the data structure, how data elements will be organized, the output, description of the purpose, frequency, distribution of the output, and so on. Okay, I'll give you the example here in the slide. Okay, so you can refer this one as the example of the system requirement for each of the, for example, output, the input, the process. Okay, I took one of the example for each. For example, output example, they will need to identify the website must the requirements for the website. Okay, the website must report the online volume statistic every 4 hours and hourly during the peak periods. So this is maybe the outputs that they the requirements from the user. Okay, so those as the example of the output. Okay, the contact management system must generate a daily reminder list for the all sales representative. Okay, example of input, for example, department head must enter overtime hours on the separate screen. Okay, each input form must include data, include date, time, product code, customer number, and quantity. So those are related to the input part. So what are the requirements for the input? Okay, and then example of the process, the student records system must calculate the GPA at the end of the semester. The human resource system must interface properly with the existing payroll system. So those are the example that related to requirements of the process. Okay, and then the requirements for the performance, example, response time must not exceed the 4 seconds. The system must support 25 users online simultaneously. Alright. Okay, and then the control example, the system must provide like on security, employee record must be added, changed or deleted only by a member of the human resource department. Okay, so this one also you can relate to the what you had learned in the internal control in the AIS 615. So those are the example related to the requirements for output, input, process, performance, control, and so on. Okay, so those are they need to they need to find out the needs of the users. Okay, the system requirements. So actually this system requirements parts and users needs is very crucial part in the system analysis. Okay, if you refer to figure 22.5, so this is where problem will occur with they have communication problem in the system analysis and design. So this is where they have a problem during the requirements analysis or requirements users needs. Okay, kalau you refer pada gambar ni, okay, they want to develop the swing. Okay, so each of the picture here, okay, they will illustrate the different types of swing. Okay, so this is the illustrate by the management. So this is the proposal by the management. This is the looks like the swings looks like. Okay, and then the as sold to the top management. Okay, as planned by the project development team, as approved by the steering committee. So this is different illustration. Okay, as designed by the senior analysts, written by the programmers, installed by the users needs, user sites, and what the users actual needs needed. Okay, so you can refer to the last picture. This is actually the users needs, but before that, okay, when they have problem in the communication of their needs of the users needs, okay, so they will illustrate different types of swing, and semuanya bukanlah mix the users needs. Okay, sebenarnya yang users needs adalah yang ni. Alright, so this is where the critical part of the system requirements and the information needs in the system analysis, so that when they build the system, they will meet the users needs. Okay, so user boleh guna at the end of the development, then they will implement the new system. Okay, and then the information needs and system requirements. So this is the system objective and constraint. So it is important to determine the system objective so that the analysts and users can focus on those elements that vital to the AIS success. So this is also we had discussed in the AIS 615 under table 22.7. So those are the usable input, usable data or information for the accounting information system. So they need to if they want to have a AIS successfully, they need to focus also to these elements. For example, the AIS must be usefulness, they have economy, characteristic, reliability of system, availability of the system, timeliness, and so on. So I think you need to refresh back what you did learn in the AIS 615. So those are the same concept implied in this under information needs and system requirement. Okay, and then so they also need to identify the constraint. Okay, so the organization constraint usually make it impossible to develop all parts of the new system simultaneously. Therefore, the system is divided into smaller subsystem or modules. So normally when they want to develop the system, they also can develop the system. They can chunk the whole process of the system to the subsystem or module. Okay, so the system success often depends on the project team's ability to cope with the constraint of the organization faces. For example, common constraint here, the government agency requirements, the policy guideline from the management, okay, and then also the lack of the sufficient qualified staff, the capabilities and attitudes of the system users, availability of the technology, limited financial resources. So those are the example of the constraint that we face by the development team when they want to proceed with the system. So the success of the system also depends on the how the management team, how the development team cope with those constraints. So these are the strategies that they can determine to determine the requirements. Okay, so they can ask the users what they need. Okay, analyze the external system, examine the existing system use, and also they can create the prototype. Okay, so those are also can be implemented under system analysis to determine the users' requirements. Okay, they can ask directly the users, examine the existing system use, and then also the prototype. So the prototype also can be created to develop before they develop the new system. So that prototype can be showed to the users, and then they can get feedback from the users, and then when they get feedback from the users, dia tahulah user tu nak yang mana, whether the prototype tu is fulfill with what they are required. Okay, and then kalau tak penuhi lagi dia punya needs, so dia boleh ubah lagi dekat prototype tu sampailah dia can come up with the end product, the new system. Okay, and then they need to do documentation, okay, of those approval, documentation and approval of the user requirement. Okay, so this is also important. So they need to get the approval and then document that user requirement. So the detailed requirement for the new AIS that explain exactly what the system must produce should be created and documented. And then this is the list should be supported by the sample input and output form, as well as charts to make easier for the readers to conceptualize the system. So when users' requirements have been determined, the documented, the project team mix with the users, and then they get approval from the users. Okay, so dia kena masukkan dalam dokumen all the evidence, all the needs, requirements, needs, the sample, the prototype, semua tu they need to document it, okay, dalam requirement list. And then they will get the approval from the user, so that the user betul-betul tahu dah apa yang dia nak is confirmed. Okay, and then so that when they do the next process of the design, so tak ada lagi perubahan needs from the users. So that's important lah, when the part of the approval from the users. Okay, and then the last step in the system analysis, they will produce the system analysis report. So the system analysis is concluded by the preparing the report, summarize and document the analysis activities, serve as the repository of data from which system designers can draw. So daripada sinilah the requirements, all they will document it, and then they will use this report to next step, next phase, which is design. Okay, design phase. So you can refer table 22.3. You can see the overall content of the system analysis report for the Shopper Smart. Okay, for example, they need to have the system goal, objective, the project scope, relationship of the project to the overall strategic system plan, current system operation, user requirement, okay, feasibility analysis, system constraint, recommendation for the new system, proposed project participants and work plan, and also on. Okay, so they will use this report to proceed to the next process or next phase is the system design. So daripada sinilah dia akan kembangkan lagi the requirements of the users, and then they will design it as the what's needs by the users. Okay, so that's all for the end of this video. So I end this video to end up the chapter 22. So with that, I thank you.